YouTube. This is a video of my review of several micro and nano-sized quadcopters I've accumulated over the past 3 months when I first entered the hobby. I want to first give props out to Flying Ryan and Freakin' Flyer and everyone on rcgroups.com because it's through those channels that I learned a lot about the quads that I own, as well as the future quads I'm going to get. But I'm showing this view here because this is the room I fly all these things in, or attempt to fly them in. It's about 15 by 15 feet with 8-foot high ceilings. And I fly in here because I'm on the 21st story of an apartment building. So it's kind of annoying for me to try to pack everything up and go downstairs outside and find a safe place to fly without children. So, I just fly in here. Okay, so, like most other guys, I have a couple of cats in my videos, and that's why that sofa is destroyed. Okay, but the quads. Okay, so this is what I've accumulated in the past 3 months. And I'll start with this little manual here. The very first quadcopter I bought was the Liansheng LS113. I apologize for the quality of video. It's a cell phone I'm using to video this. So the Liansheng 113, on the second day I had it, I broke it. And by broke, I mean I opened it up, checking the one motor that didn't spin up, and it was still soldered properly. The motor didn't seem to have a physical problem, but I think the flight control board or the PCB board itself may have had some issues. So I'm not going to recommend this one at all. But I did learn from that, and I learned that I need to get a durable quadcopter because I'm going to crash a lot. And so my second quadcopter is the Skywalker 1306, and this was pretty good. The cage was indestructible for me at least, because I crashed it at least 100 times, and I never broke the cage. But I did manage to break a propeller somehow because the cage was so flexible. So the reason why I don't have these two is I actually gave away the Skywalker to someone else that thought quads might be cool. And it got to be too slow for me. The yaw rate on this Skywalker was too slow for this size room, so I got rid of it. That may have also been why I crashed it over 100 times, because the yaw was so slow. Okay, but anyways, the ones I do have here, I'm going to start with the worst and get up to the best, of course. So this top row of 4, these are all too fast to fly in this room. They're too fast for indoors, in my opinion. This first one is the Liansheng 216, and I got suckered into buying this because it was 3D. It flips over and flies upside down. Now, what I came to learn later is the controller. Look how bulky it is. It's not very comfortable to hold. I don't like the controller at all. Second, the camera that it came with. I took it out now. I'll tell you why in a second. The camera takes blurry photos. As stable as I flew this thing here indoors with no wind, it never took a clear photo. But the main reason why I don't fly this, and I started taking it apart, is I think it's dangerous. The big 8.5mm motors suck so much current out of the 450 milliamp battery that the battery always came out super hot. None of these other quads get super hot batteries. They're warm, the motors are warm, the batteries are warm. But this thing, the battery was physically hot, and I thought it might catch on fire. So I ended up taking it apart. It didn't fly very well because it only has one rate, which is another issue. If you're going to design a flipping quad, why wouldn't you have 2 or 3 rates where you could fly it quickly? But the one rate it had was super slow because I'm guessing it was supposed to also take photos, but the camera was horrible. So this is probably the worst product out there. Do not buy it. Okay, next one. The Happy Cow is the brand, and then they have a line called the Sky Phantom. And this particular one is the model 777366. I put the manual out because it actually used to look like this, where it had a roll cage of several bars cross-linked together. And with those bars, with that cage, this thing flew awesome in this room. It reminded me of 10-scale drift cars. The LEDs were really nice, except for the red. Red is in front. Red's in front, so that's not so good. But it flew really well. The reason why it's in this back row is because after about 50 crashes, all those arms on that cage broke off, so it just ended up clipping off the entire cage. But now, without the extra weight of the cage, it just throttles right into the ceiling. It's just way too fast to fly indoors. So that's why it's in this back row now. It does have a good controller though, and I'm going to mention now, I mark all my control buttons because I can't remember what every controller does and what button does with this or that. So I literally just mark them, C is calibration, speed, rates, whatever. Okay, next one. Top selling X6. There's nothing wrong with it for outdoor flight, but indoors it's just too fast again. And it only has 2 rates, which I feel, I don't know why they're trying to cheap out on the rates. And then also these little rubber landing feet kept falling out. For now, I ended up super gluing them in there, but I'm not sure how long that's going to work. Okay, next one is the Yizon X4. And outdoors is a pretty cool quad. It's very fast, crazy pitch, crazy speed. What I don't like about it is this controller, you know. Although the sticks are nice, it's this flip button and the speed button being on the top instead of the front. So I have to, when I'm thumbing around like that, I have to remove my thumb and hit the button. So I don't like using that controller, and hence I don't actually fly this quad anymore, even outside. So I'll deviate it, I guess, later. Okay, so the next one, Moontop 9916. It got great reviews on the forums, but my particular unit is not powerful at all. This is the unit with no camera. There's just an LED there. So it's not as heavy as the camera version, of course. But when I'm doing bank turns or just yawing, it just drops altitude and touches the floor. So it doesn't fly uncontrollably, but it just drops out of the sky for no reason, even though I'm punching the throttle up to 100% trying to compensate. So I don't know if that's particular to my particular unit or all of them, but I don't like that particular Moontop 9916 at all. Only slightly better, but still I do not recommend this next one, is the Mold King 33033. But on the packaging it says ZT Asteroid, which is why I sharpied on there. And there's several reasons why I don't like this. Is first, this controller. It is so blocky and sharp-edged here on the top. I hate the feel of this controller. It's very unergonomic. Second, these sticks always fall off. So I've tried to epoxy these on and silicone glue them on, but it's made of some sort of plastic that doesn't take well to glues. So the controller's not very good. And then the quadcopter in its naked form like this, it's okay, I guess. You can fly it, but it's very jittery. It's very sketchy in its flight. It's like it drank 10 cups of coffee. And then it has a round prop guard, which actually makes things even worse. It creates a lot of turbulence, and I think like it's actually unflyable with the prop guard. It's barely flyable as it is, and then with the prop guard, it's unflyable for me at least. So that's another quad I don't like at all. I don't recommend that for anyone. This one is the Eachine H1, and I like this one only because it had the wheels. What I did not know, and the packaging does not mention, is headless mode only, meaning it just always goes wherever you're sending the sticks, but when you rotate it, it still comes back to you. I guess you can research headless mode more on the internet, but for someone 3 months in, it's just not fun at all. It's more like, you know, someone very brand new to quadcoptering might enjoy it, but for me, I don't like it at all. Also, these sticks, the knobs on the sticks are glued on. You can't extend them. And then this body, it came cracked already when I bought it. So the body's very brittle apparently. So I don't like that particular quad at all. Okay, next one. Eachine H8. I mean, right now in the middle of 2015, this is the cheapest quadcopter, I believe. And it is good for that kind of money. It flies very fast. But as many people mention online, the yaw is just crazy fast. And I even fly with a Bayang X9 controller on the second rate setting. And for this room, it's just, it is flyable, but it's not a smooth flyer because the yaw is so fast. So I don't really like flying this one so much indoors. Next one is the DFD F180. And again, this is more for an outdoor quad. For this size room, it's a little bit too fast. It is flyable, but it's not enjoyable, we'll put it that way. It does have a nice controller, I like that. The prop guard is okay. It tends to fall out of the bottom holes often, so I very often use those hair rubber bands to keep it on the arms. So that's okay, but not the best for indoors. Okay, this front row though, I recommend everything in this front row. They all have good qualities, very few bad qualities. So the first one here is the Nihui U207. And you can just tell by the robustness of this prop guard that it's going to be very hard to damage this. And more importantly, also damage things in your room. You don't want to scratch up your TV screen, or in my case, I got a cat running over there. So, I think this is okay, and it's very similar to this next one, so I'm going to talk about both of these at the same time. The JJRC 820, both of these fly fairly similar. They're very, they're smooth, but they're slow. They only have two speed rates, a super slow rate and then a medium rate, in my opinion. But I never crash these because of that slower speed. I can literally fly the entire battery packs and never crash these things. But at the same time, that gets kind of boring, You're not pushing the limits because it's simply there aren't excessive limits on these. So I think these are really good for beginners. But if you're already at the 3 months in like I am, they might be a little too slow for you. There's no challenge left. Okay, so the next one is the Cheerson CX10. I did like this quad when it worked. Here's the issue. My first one was orange, and that's why I'm showing the orange controller. With this third rate, it was really fun. You get tight funnels and flips, and it's fast, because it's so small, being a Nano, that you can fly around really fast in a room 15 by 15 by 8. My only issue is durability, or I guess reliability. This orange one came with the desoldered motor. I had to go into it and solder the motor, and then a month later it just finally died. Can't figure out why. I think the board is messed. This pink one is the replacement that I was sent out, and this thing had a 50% throttle cut problem. Meaning, like, I'd throttle up 50%, all motors would fall and just fall out of the sky. So, and that can't be fixed, so I already scavenged the motors out of that. And I put this optional prop guard out here because I want to mention, with this prop guard in place, it doesn't fly very well. Whereas this JJRC and this U207, they fly very well with their prop guards. They're designed with those prop guards in mind. I don't think this Cheerson was designed to carry this prop guard, so it just doesn't fly as smooth with it. But at the same time, if you're later in the later stages of flying, it's so small you don't really need a prop guard if you're, if you've been flying a while. Okay, anyways. The next one is, again, a Happy Cow brand. Sky Phantom Family, and then number 777357. And I put the manual out again because this thing had prop guards around it as well. But probably in the second day I had it, I broke one of those. I snapped one of those arms. So I ended up just clipping all of them off. The reason why it's still in this front row is because of its size. Even without the prop guards, it still flies very smooth. I almost don't even notice a performance difference with or without the little bit of weight those prop guards had, which is unlike the orange one. The orange one flew very smooth with the prop guard, but now it feels like twice as fast as before, and it simply can't be flown indoors. But this little smaller model, it still flies very smooth. My only issue is I can't get any spare props, and those prop guards were permanently on there. I can never replace those. But I'm more concerned about the props because they're not your standard round-ended. They're fairly unique looking. But anyways, hopefully I can find some suitable replacement for that. Okay, so the next one. That's the Hoopson X4. It lives up to its reputation. It is pricey. It cost me about $40, which is twice as much as maybe half of the ones on this table. My only issue is the two rates. The low rate can only max out at 60%. But I like to fly in this room at around 70 to 80%, so I have to use the high rate to fly in this room. But the only issue is on high rate, to do any of the flips, the tumbling, you need to set it at 100%, which is simply too fast for me and my skill level in this room. So basically, I fly on high rate, but I'm not able to do flips because I set the rates down to like 70% or so. But otherwise, it is smooth. You can just tell. Once you fly it, it's just so stable, and it feels substantial, and it feels quality. But at almost half the price is the Buying X9. And this thing is awesome. I'm going to recommend this to everyone. I might buy another one just to get the other color. But due to its form factor and its very light weight, you can whip this around like a dragonfly. I can, even though it's a large micro size, compared to, say, the Nano Cheerson, in this small room, I can still fly this with confidence. And it's fast enough that I can crash it. I can go beyond my flight capabilities. So I can still grow with that one, which is really cool. Highly recommended. Okay, so my favorite one, though, is unknown. I looked it up online, and I can't really find it. But it's called the Yuxiang 668. Here, I left the manual out. The packaging had this mini drone S, where the S was definitely larger than on this piece of paper. And it had a logo of a Yuxiang written in it, and then the number 668 near the barcode. So if you can find one, it's cool. And what makes it cool? Well, let's talk about it a little bit more. Well, first, the prop guards are molded in. I'm not saying that's cool, but they do their job. I haven't replaced a prop yet, and I've crashed it a lot because this thing is fast. You'll see this rubber band here. That's only because I opened it up to double check its polarity, because I blew out one of my little chargers, so I thought maybe this had reverse polarity, but it doesn't. The polarity on this is the same as the Cheerson CX10 or the JJRC 820, so you can use the same charger connector. But I did mess up the tab, so that's why it's held by a rubber band. But the LEDs make sense. The red is in back, blue is in front. And it has 3 rates, and I would say the first rate is the same speed as these two I recommended earlier, the JJRC 820 and the Nihui U207. So I think the first rate of this guy is good for beginners. And then the medium rate obviously is that, but it's the third rate that makes this better than all these other ones. And why is that? Because it has so much throttle punch, you can do flips just by cutting the throttle. So I'll punch the throttle, cut it off, and then watch it do somersaults, and then I'll hit the throttle again and catch it before it crashes. All in this little room right here. 8-foot-high ceilings. So you can literally actually just turn it on and do a throttle punch right from after syncing up. Or obviously if you're flying, you'll do a forward somersault if you're actually moving in a forward momentum. So that's what makes it different. The controller is not logical as the others, whereas the trim buttons are up on the front, and then the flip button's here. And I'm sorry, the rate button here is on the right, and flip button is on the left. But with some stick extensions, you get used to it. It's fine. You're really mostly concerned about the sticks. But and also the flipping, it will do continuous flips. Where if I just hit flip and keep the right stick in one position, you'll continually do flips until you crash into the ground. But it's really those throttle punch flips that I just discovered by accident that none of these other ones will do because they're simply not fast enough. But because this thing is small, it's smaller than a micro, a little bit bigger than the Nano, kind of in between the two. For this size room, it's just awesome. I can, I don't know. I guess I'll try to put a video together of me flying and doing these throttle punch flips. But if you can find this thing, the Yuxiang Mini Drone S, or number 668, A485, maybe that's a color code, I don't know. I highly recommend this. Here in Thailand, it costs 500 baht, which is the equivalent of around $15. So, I mean, for the money, that's pretty impressive. Alright, so that's what I've learned in the past 3 months. I hope you don't waste your money on that particular one or some of these other ones. But hope you learned something, and thanks. Take care.